There. There's a little pop-up window there. I think it just says, is it okay?
Got it?
Well,
Yeah.
stop and cost. Yes.
Thank you.
There used to be another congregation rented this space years ago. The conservative group, and they would here, I would come on occasion. When we didn't have services Shabbos, the conservative group were here. So on occasion I would come either here or Chabad or East Hampton. I would down wherever.
Okay.
So right here, now what you did was, you gave me, oh, I see, yeah, okay. Good, 3 green, 2 black.
There should be 3.
That's all right.
One's on the bottom, I think.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
No, those are, I think those are all sort of,
I must have been here actually see door.
I
I'll give you
took
another
those
one.
maybe, I'm not sure where I took them. I only hope we'll have to get more. I don't know.
Okay. All right. And the other good thing is we don't have to look at the screen of ourselves anymore, which is nice. It's a comfortable part of the experience. Just wish I had thought to do this weeks ago.
It's all a learning curve.
Yeah.
I just found out that my phone can unlock if I'm wearing my watch.
Oh, yeah, no, that's it.
And I just found it out. I'm like, oh, good. And we're getting to the point where that's not gonna be necessary.
Right, and now it works.
Now I figured out.
I know, they spent the whole year working on it, yeah, for some reason or another, it's official, but yeah, that's one of those things that makes me actually want to get one of those watches, but my worry is that it's just gonna constantly tell me how bad shape I am. You know, and it's like, I don't need another person telling me that I'm
I
in
find
bad shape.
kind of, it is very helpful in a lot of things.
Okay, we're gonna talk that, we're away from the camera.
Oh, you're right. I'm not.
No. Yeah, so we actually, it's a double thing, because the parents also sent, the Chris's who are members, so Mary Ellen.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
Chris,
I did
Chris.
their wedding, and I did baby naming
Oh.
a few weeks ago,
Yeah,
and that was very good.
it is.
You know,
I transferred over.
thank you. No, that, between that and Mrs. Wagner's gift and the Christmas, that's, you know, double the fun in a matter of weekend. Oh,
It's funny.
very generous, more so the mess.
The camera isn't on yet, is it?
Yeah, it is. What you're seeing there is, don't worry. The main thing is that what everybody else is seeing is what that's the main thing. Yeah, so
Do they hear us?
right now they will hear you faintly and they'll hear me well. Because the way that this mic is set up is to pick up sound in front of it mostly. Mostly.
No one is tuned in yet.
Oh, no, it's not a Zoom anymore. It's like on regular Saturday mornings. It's just streamed on the website and stuff like that. So you won't see any, that otherwise it would be too hard. I'd have to somehow let people in and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So this is just really functioning.
It's like Shabbos.
This is basically Shabbos. This is all it is, you know, just with a different computer thing. So speaking of which, good Shabbos to everybody who I'm sure is up at 9:30 watching us this morning. And a good Shabbos to Howard, who are stalwarts, who would be here first thing in the morning every time. You know, a shamish to the end. So it's great to officially have our first in-person service for Saturday mornings. Cantor Lawrence, good to see you. So we are going to begin our service with let's do the one we've been doing.
Okay.
Good, I like that.
Is it not clear?
It is nothing. Look at that. turn to page 186 to begin our service with thanks and gratitude. Turn now to page 192, Ma Tovu at the very top of the page. Turn now to page 194 and read together in Hebrew at the top of the page a blessing for our bodies. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher yatzar et ha'adam b'chokhmah, uvara avo nekavim nekavim chalulim chalulim. Galui v'yadua lifnei chisech bodecha, she'im yipatech echad mehem, o yisatem echad mehem, אי-אפשר להתקיים ולעמוד לפניך. ברוך אתה אדוני רופא כל בשר ומחלי לעשות. Turn now to page 196, very top of the page. Let's read together on the bottom of page 196. My God, the soul you have given me is pure. You created it, you shaped it, you breathed it into me, and you protect it within me. For as long as my soul is within me, I offer thanks to you, Adonai, my God and God of my ancestors, source of all creation, sovereign of all souls. Praised are you, Adonai, in whose hand is every living soul and the breath of humankind. Baruch atah Adonai, asher biado nefesh kol chai, veruach kol besar ish. We rise in body or spirit as we turn to page 198, Nisim Bechol Yom. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lasach b'bina, lachvin b'yom u'b'layla. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, matzir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, zokef kefufim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, rokach haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamechin mitzadei gaber. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish harumim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, anoten laya'ef koach. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamavir shinam einai, u'tnuma me'afai. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani b'tzelem Elohim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani ben chorim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael b'kura. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael b'tifara. Please be seated at home. We're on page 204. We'll begin by reading together in English, in Hebrew at the top of the page, and then English at the bottom. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. O Adonai, our God, let the words of Torah be sweet in our mouths, in the mouths of your people Israel, so that we, our descendants, and the descendants of all your people Israel, may know you by studying your Torah for its own sake. Blessed are you, Adonai, who teaches Torah to your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, hamelamed Torah l'amo Yisrael. We're now on page 206. Elu devarim she'ein lahem shiur, she'adam ochel porotehem ba'olam hazeh, ve'akeren kayemet lo le'olam haba, ve'elu hen kibud ahavaim ugmilut chasadim, ve'hashkamahat beit hamidrash shacharit ve'aravit, ve'achnasat orchim uvikur cholim, והכנסת קהל ויתמת ביון תפילה, ואהבת שלום בין אדם לחברו, ותלמוד תורה כנגד כולם. We rise in body or spirit for the opening blessing of Pezukei de Zimra on page 212. Baruch shehamar Baruch Baruch Oseh Bereshit, Baruch Omer Ve'oseh, Baruch Gozer Umekayem, Baruch Merachem al Haaretz, Baruch Merachem al Habriot, Baruch Meshalem Sachar Tov Lirehav, Baruch Chaylad V'Kayam Lanetzach, Baruch Bodeh Umatziel, Baruch Shemo, Bishvachot Uvizmirot Negadelcha, Unshabechecha Nefayercha V'Naskir Shimcha V'Namlichecha Malkeinu Eloheinu, Yachid Chayei Olamim, Melech Meshubach U'Mefoar Deyad Shemo HaGadol, Baruch atah Adonai, Melech Mehulal Batishvachot. Please be seated. We're on page 214, the second line down. Tol Eodot Adonai, Tol Eodot Adonai, Ulezamer, Leshimcha Elyon, טוב להודות לאדוני, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, ואמונתך בלילות, טוב להודות לאדוני. עלי אסור ועלי נבל, עלי גיון בכינור, כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך ארנן. מגדו מעשיך ים, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. מגדו מעשיך ים, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. מגדו מעשיך ים, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. We're now on page 215. Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha, Hodi Hallelujah, Hodi Hallelujah. Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha, Hodi Hallelujah, Hodi Hallelujah. Selah Ashrei. Pa'anachnu nevarech ya, me'ata ve'adonam, me'ata ve'adonam, me'ata ve'adonam, Hallelujah, 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 Hallelujah. Psalm 150, page 218. Hallelujah, 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 El Bekocho, Hallelujah, Kiauso, Hallelujah, Biurotam, Hallelujah, Kerokudo, Hallelujah, 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 Beteka Shofar, Hallelujah, Benelechino, Hallelujah, Betofu Machon, Hallelujah, Beminim Behugam, Hallelujah, 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 Betziatzalei Shama, hallelujah, Betziatzalei Trua, Kol Hanshama, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Nishmat kol achai tevarech et shimcha Adonai Eloheinu. We continue silently on page 219. Now on page 220. Ilu finu maleh shira kaya Ulshonenu rina kamon gala Vesivtotenu sheba kemarkeve rakia Veinenu meirot kashemesh vechayareach Ve'adinu frusot ken ishrei shamayim Ve'raglenu kalot kahayalot Ein anachnu maspikim lehodot lecha Adonai Eloheinu Elohei avotinu ve'imotenu. Do you sound me over? Now on page 222, the second paragraph in Hebrew. Shochein ad marov v'kadosh shemo v'chatu v'hanenu tzadikim b'Adonai la yesharim na'avat tehillah Befi sharim titalalu divrei tzadikim titbarachu b'lshon chasidim titromamu b'kerev kedoshim titkadashu ma'kehalot Rivebotam Chabe Yisrael Berina Yitbar Shimcha Malkeinu Bechol Dor Ador Yababai Yababai Bye 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 Yababai Yababai Bye Bye Yai bye bye, yai bye bye, yai bye bye, bye bye bye. Yai bye bye, yai bye bye, yai bye bye. Your eyes and body are spirit as we turn to page 223 for the concluding blessing of Pesukei de Zimra and remain standing through the Chatzi Kaddish and the Baruch Hu on the page after that. Yishtabach shimecha alad malkeinu Ahel HaMelech HaGadol VaHaKadosh B'Shamayim u'Ba'aretz Ki lecha na'eh Adonai Eloheinu V'Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu Shir u'shvacha alav v'zimraha u'zu memshala ha'netzach Gedula u'gvura tila v'tiferet kedusha u'malchut Brachot ve'hodaot me'ata v'Adonai Baruch atah Adonai El melech gadol batishbachot El hahodaot adon haniflaot Habocher b'shirei zimra Melech el chei haolamim Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah Me'amad dibra frutei v'yamlich malchutei V'chaychon v'yomechon v'chayhe d'chol Beit Yisrael b'hagala u'bizman kariv v'imeru Amen. Yesh meraba mevarach le'alam le'amei amayam Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitromam v'yitaseh v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalav shemei dekucha Leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata d'amiran be'amam Imeru Amen. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Vaed. Please be seated. We're now on page 228. We'll begin by reading together in English at the bottom of the page, and then the 3 lines in Hebrew just above. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of light and darkness, who makes peace and fashions all things. In mercy you illumine the world and those who live upon it. In your goodness you daily renew creation. How numerous are your works, Adonai, in wisdom you form them all, filling the earth with your creatures. Be praised, Adonai, our God, for the excellent work of your hands, and for the lights you created, may they glorify you. Shine a new light upon Zion, that we all may swiftly merit its radiance. Praised are you, Adonai, creator of all heavenly lights. Or Chadash, Al Zion Tahir. Or Chadash, Al Zion Tahir. Venizkechu lanu, meheira leoro. Venizkechu lanu, meheira leoro. Yadadai bim bim bam, yadadai bim bam, yadadai bim bim bam, yadadai. Yadadai bim bim bam, yadadai bim bam, yadadai bim bim bam, yadadai Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer hameorot. Now on page 230, we'll begin by reading together in English at the top and then the Hebrew at the bottom. How deeply you have loved us, Adonai our God, gracing us with surpassing compassion. On account of our forebears whose trust led you to teach them the laws of life, be gracious to us, teaching us as well. O merciful one, have mercy on us by making us able to understand and discern, to heed, learn, and teach, and lovingly to observe, perform, and fulfill all that is in your Torah. Ve'aherinu b'toratecha v'damek limeinu b'mitzvotecha ve'yachel levabeinu le'ahava u'yirah et shemecha ve'lo nebosh ve'lo nikalem ve'lo nikashem Le'olam va'ed ki b'shem kodshecha hagadol v'hanora b'tachnu nagila v'nismecha b'yeshuatecha ve'habienu le'shalom Me'arba kanfot haaretz ve'tolicheinu kol memiyut le'artzeinu ki poel yeshuot ata ubanu b'charta ve'keravtanu le'shimcha agadol sela be'emet להודות לך ולכתך באהבה, ברוך אתה אדוני, הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. on page 234. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha v'chol nafshecha v'chol yadecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha ve'shinatam levanecha v'dibartam ושבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך וקומך ושרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. We're now on page 236. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור דבר בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם עשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם ונתנו הציצית הכנף בתיל תכלת והיה לכם לציצית וראיתם אותו וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי הייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם Adonai Elohechem Amen. Let's read together on the top of page 239. Emet, there is no place where you are not, even in the wilderness, there is your word. Emet, that pen strokes of lightning, white fire, black flame, stir the soul's passion, guide our sacred way. True and enduring is Torah. Your truth for us is certain and established now and forevermore. Like Moses, Miriam, and all Israel, we sing out and rejoice as we turn to page 240. We'll begin the Amidah together on page 242 and then continue silently. Please go at your own pace, and if you're standing, you may be seated at the end. Adonai sefatati tafu fi agitei natecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. I just hope that they know how to get it. Okay, if you are still finishing your Amidah at home, please continue as you are. For those that have finished, we're going to turn to page 324 for the repetition, and we'll rise in body or spirit. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu ve'Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim V'Koneh HaKol V'Zocher Chasdei Avot ve'Imahot ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיה מתים עזרה להושיע מוריד הטעם מחכה חיים בחסד מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ברפא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לישני עפר, מחמוך בגבורות, ומדום מלך, מלך ממית ומחייב, ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה לחיות יפים, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. Now on page 326. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמתי שמו אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש 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 Adonai Tzevaot Melech kol haaretz Yehodo Adir Adirenu Adonai Adonenu Adir Shemecha b'chol haaretz Baruch kevod Adonai mimkom Echad Eloheinu Avinu Malkeinu ומושיענו והוא ישמיענו ורחמיו לעיני כל חיי אני אדוני אלוהיכם ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון לדור ודור hallelujah. We're on page 328. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד קוד לך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד לך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך להקדיש, קדושתך להקדיש, ושפחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Please be seated at home. We're now on the top of page 329. Yismechu v'malechutecha shomrei 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 shamat v'korei oneg shamat. Yismechu v'malechutecha shomrei 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 shamat v'korei oneg shamat. Aham mekadshem Mekadshe Shemini Shabbat, Kulam Yispehu, V'yichtavu mitu lecha Shabbat, Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei 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 Shabbat, Korei oneg Shabbat, V'hashvir atzitavo, Ratzita bo v'kidashto Shabbat, Emnat yamim, oto kerata Shabbat, Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei 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 Shabbat, V'korei oneg Shabbat, Zecher l'maseh, L'maseh Bereshit Shabbat, Zecher L'maseh Bereshit Shabbat, Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei 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 Shabbat, V'korei oneg Shabbat. Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Retzei, Retzei, b'mnuchateinu. Kadeshenu b'mitzvotecha, v'tenchotenu b'toratecha, Tzaveinu mitovecha, v'samechenu b'shuatecha, v'taher libeinu, le'odecha be'emet, ve'anchileinu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hai, 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 B'yahava ratzon Shabbat kodshecha v'nilchu ba'Yisrael mekadshe shemecha baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. We turn now to page 330, and we're going to read together in English at the very bottom of the page. On this Shabbat day, as you graciously receive our prayers, help us to hear your call. Grant us enough health to fulfill our duties and the compassion we need to attend to others. Teach us humility that we may perceive our own faults, and grant us the wisdom to be forgiving of others. Give us the courage to be true to our highest selves and the charity to see the best in those around us. Give us patience enough not to become discouraged, hope enough to overcome all fears for the future, and faith enough to know your presence. O source of blessing, look with favor upon us. May our offerings be acceptable to you. Baruch atah Adonai, shotcha lebacha b'ranapun. Turn now to page 332. We'll begin reading in English together at the very bottom of the page. For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations, modim anachnu lach. For this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons, modim anachnu lach. For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements, modim anachnu lach. For human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression. Modim anachnu lach. For high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared. Modim anachnu lach. For all who have labored and suffered for a fair world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom. Modim anachnu lach. For human liberties and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose. Modim anachnu lach. We pray that we may live not by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulachanai lehodot. Sim Shalom, page 334. Sim Shalom, Tova ubracha, chema chesed verachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael ha'amecha, barcheinu yotzreinu kulanu kechad, ve'or panecha. Ve'or panecha natata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu. Sim Shalom, Tova ubracha, chen v'chesed verachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ha'amecha, Torat chaim ve'ahavat chesed, ve'ahavat chesed, u'tzedaka u'veracha verachamim l'chaim v'shalom. Sim Shalom, Tova u'bracha, chen v'chesed verachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ha'amecha, v'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael, v'chol eit u'v'chol shah b'shlomecha. Sim Shalom, Tova u'bracha, chen v'chesed verachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ha'amecha. Baruch atah Adonai, hamevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. Let's read together on the bottom of page 336. I need strength, humility, courage, patience. Strength to control my passions, humility to assess my own worth, courage to rise above defeats, and patience to cleanse myself of imperfections, and wisdom to learn and live by our sacred teachings. Let me not be discouraged by my failings. Let me take heart from all that is good and noble in my character. Keep me from falling victim to cynicism. Teach me sincerity and enthusiasm. Endow me with perception and courage, that I may serve others with compassion and love. Oseh shalom b'mama, uyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Okay, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Cantor, you can have a seat. Howard, good to see you. All of you are missing all of this. That's, exactly our massive crowd here. But just because we don't have a lot of people doesn't mean we're not going to learn some Torah this morning.
Like liberation.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what Mikra Mocha is all about, right? That's it. So very quickly on Women's Torah Commentary Shabbat, usually I just give a sort of mini drash. For this week, we are reading from Parshat Pinchas, which really, as I said last week, begins with last week's portion. And as the end of the story of Balak and Bilam, the Israelites are, let's just say, getting themselves into trouble once again. and some what's an acceptable church synagogue word for what's going on?
Right.
Some carnal relations that probably should not have happened the way that they were happening. And so Pinchas takes a spear and runs through both the Israelite and the Midianite, and as a result of it, the people are saved, but there is a lot to be unpacked from. And Fran Gottfried is going to lead our Torah study at noon, is going to help us to unpack some of those things. But I want to just kind of jump a little further ahead to the end of the Parsha, which is the story of Benot Tzlofchad, the daughters of Tzlofchad, who have this really remarkable engagement with Moses and with God, in which they point out one of the challenges of inheritance that is based on patriarchal inheritance. In other words, if you have sons, biblically, the eldest son is the one that's going to inherit the estate of the father. But what happens ultimately in the case of the daughters of Tzlofchad, who have no brothers, no son in the family, and so all of their inheritance, right, the family's inheritance, the inheritance of Tzlofchad, would ultimately then be dispersed or lost because there is no son to inherit. And so they rightfully point out that this is not an appropriate or just situation. They report it to Moshe. Moshe takes it to God, and God ultimately says that they themselves are correct and things are changed. Now, of course, in ways that Fran will get into later, I'm sure, things get sort of undone a little bit in a few parshas, but we'll focus on this week. And just a very quick reference that I'm not sure everybody else would naturally know of or find, but the rabbis of the Talmud discuss Benot Tzlofchad in two different places, in Masechet Sanhedrin and also in the Masechet Baba Batra. In Baba Batra, we're told that the sages taught that the daughters of Tzlofchad are wise, they are interpreters of Torah, and they are righteous. Okay, so they are Chachmaniot, Darshaniyot, and Tzidkaniot. Okay, so one thing it's always very wonderful to see, right, is a feminized version of all of these words. Normally you see it only in one way. Each one of these things then gets extrapolated from there, and they give examples as to why they make the statement. But I want to focus actually just on the first one and what it is that makes them chachmaniot, what makes them full of wisdom. So the Gemara proves this by saying, what's in here? That ultimately speaking, one of the reasons why they are considered to be wise is that it's not just that they were correct in what it was that they were saying. It's that they spoke, as the Torah says, in accordance with the moment. So what does that mean? It means that they presented their case at exactly the right time. They had the wisdom not just to know that they were right, but they were able to see the field, right? They were able to see the moment. They were able to see that specific place and time in which sometimes a message that even if it's correct is not heard properly because of when it is offered. And they saw the opportunity and they ultimately went for it, and they were ultimately correct. That instead of, for example, bringing this conversation up in a previous portion, which had nothing to do with inheritance or whatever it might be, this was exactly the time in which Moshe and God were ultimately, discussing and then conveying the laws of inheritance. And as a result of it, as soon as they saw their opportunity to come before Moses, they did, and the results ultimately were positive. Now, I should counter that by saying that's not always the right advice, right? Sometimes there is a message that needs to be conveyed with urgency. It's not a question of waiting for the right time, because if you wait for the right time may never come. Years can pass and nothing will change. So I don't want to suggest the idea that everything is to wait for exactly the right moment. But I will suggest, from my personal experience, my professional experience, I think all of ours, if we're honest, that the timing of especially what we would call either tochacha, rebuke, or engagement on a tough or complicated subject, if you simply do it when it feels, opportune to you without consideration for anything else, when you push a argument that perhaps is not quite ripe for consideration, when you don't take into account the facts, right, that if, for example, you have something to say to somebody, but they have not slept or not eaten or are already in a bad mood or whatever it might be, and you come, even if you are correct, what is the likelihood of the response? Not good, right? Not good. So I think there's something to be learned from the Benot Tzlofchad, not just in the righteousness of their cause, not just in the courage to stand up, not just to Moses, but ultimately to God's law. But I think also to describe really, I think, a remarkable wisdom, as the rabbis point out, in understanding that sometimes one has to wait for exactly the right moment to convey the message. And I think that's something that all of us can take away on this Shabbat and, quite frankly, every single day. So with that, I will end my remarks and wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom and invite us all to turn to page 362 for the beginning of Seder Kriyat HaTorah, and page 362. En kamocha Elohim Adonai ve'en kemasecha malchutcha malchut olamim u'neshamtecha bechol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai imach le'olam va'ed. Adonai Yehuz lamo yitein, Adonai yevarech et amo b'shalom. Abba harachamim, eitiv avertzoncha et Zion, tivnei chomot Yerushalayim. Ki b'cha levad batachnu, melech el ram benisa, Adon olamim. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Udevar Adonai miYerushalayim. Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah le'amo Yisrael v'kdushato. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adoninu Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo.
Gadol Adonai Tirun Shemo Yachdav. Echad Adonai Hagedu Ula v'hagevura v'hatifer ve'anetzach v'hahod ki chol b'shamayim u'ba'aretz ki chol b'shamayim u'ba'aretz Adonai hamamlacha ve'amit nahaseh lechol erosh. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishacharu le'ha'kodshו. Okay, if you're still standing at home, please be seated. This morning, we're going to begin reading from chapter 27, verse 6, which can be found on page 973 in the Women's Torah Commentary, or on page 1079 in the Cloud Chumash. Again, 1079 in the Cloud Chumash, 973 Women's Torah Commentary. And if you're following at home, you're looking for Numbers 27, verse 6. And so, Howard, do you feel like doing Aliyah? Okay, you can do it from where you are. So there's no problem. Howard's going to do the Aliyah, everybody. He's here. They can hear. Okay. All right, so whenever you're ready. Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Amen. Amen. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor, ken benot tzlofad doberot, natan titen lahem achuzat nachala betoch achei avihem. והעברת את נחלת אביהן להן, ואל בני ישראל תדבר לאמור, איש כי ימות ובן אין לו, והעברתם את נחלתו לביתו, ואם אין לו בת, ונתתם את נחלתו לאחיו, ואם אין לו אחים, ונתתם את נחלתו לאחי אביו, ואם אין אחים לאביו, ונתתם את נחלתו לשארו, הקורב אליו ממשפחתו, וירש אותה, והייתה לבני ישראל לחוקת משפט כאשר ציווה אדוני את משה, ויאמר אדוני אל משה עלה אל הר העברים הזה, וראה את הארץ אשר נתתי לבני ישראל, וראית אותה, ונאספת אל עמך גם אתה, כאשר נאסף אהרון אחיך, כאשר מריתם פיהם במדבר צין, במזרת העדה, לקדישני במים לעיניהם, הם ממריבת קדש מדבר צין. וידבר משה אל אדוני לאמור, יפקוד אדוני אלוהי הרוחות לכל בשר איש על העדה, אשר יצא לפניהם, ואשר יבוא לפניהם, ואשר יוצאים ואשר יביאים, ולא תהיה עדת אדוני כצאן אשר אין להם רועה. Amen. Yasher koach, Howard, right? It's like just like that. I was gonna say, actually, you never take the Elias, so you probably haven't done it in a decade. It's very, very rare. I think last time maybe when Morty was in town, but I'm not sure. But yeah, Yasher koach. I think actually the truth is we should have had you bench Komel also. That would have made a lot of sense. Before we lift and dress the Torah, we are going to offer our Mishaberach, our prayer for healing. So if you'd like to join me on page 371. Mishaberach Avotenu v'imotenu Abraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu Yivarech et hacholim ha'elu. Begin by thinking of this morning Maren Weldon, Roberta Kyle, Jeff Baker, David Tosher, Jim Cohn, Monique Renee Banks Rathbun, Lindsay Epstein, Dolores Michka, Sylvia Orn, Yerachmiel Ben Hinda, Paloma Chauhan, Samuel Moskowitz, Audrey Lubo, Chaim Leib, Robert Posner and Joyce Weinberg, Rick Gold, Stu Pollack, Jane London, Catherine Guarino, Emuna Chava, Deirdre Klein, Stephanie Skitt, Judy Stern, Miriam Cornfield, Raz Brody, Chana Ruth Batsara, Marlise Silverberg, Susan Spruce, Fagel Tzipora Bat Elisheva Batsara, Richard Gambino, Michelle Sawicki, Idol Basha Bat Yitzchak, Tzvi Menachem Ben Chaim, Rivka Bat Devora, Amy and Gavin Tucker, Janice Kurz, David Dowling, Israel Ben Yitzchak, Ben Sion Ben Moshe, Lorraine Danis, Buddy Kossoff, Shelley Newmark, David Kyle Klopman, Rivka Bat Rachel, Sarah Bat Chana, Moshe Eliezer Ben Sivya, Peretz Ben Yehuda, and Leah Bat Naomi. If you're thinking of anyone else who is in need of healing, you can certainly mention their names out loud at home. And Howard, do you have anybody you want to? Of course. Can you learn? Anybody? Hakadosh Baruch Hu Yimalei Rachamim Aleihem La'chalimam Le'rapatam U'Lechazikam B'Shlach Lehem Mehira Refuah Shlema Min HaShamayim Refuat HaNefesh Refuat HaGuf Hashtab Agala U'Bizman Kariv V'Nomar Amen. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are suffering. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored, and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit, and let us say together, Amen. El na refana refuah shelema el na refana lo el na refana lo el na refana lo refuah shelema. Okay, we'll turn now to page 370 and we'll rise in body or spirit as the Torah is lifted and dressed. Vezot haTorah she'Moshe lifnei Yisrael pi Adonai Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva Anu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva Anu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva Anu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva Lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva Lanu Moshe. Okay, please be seated. So this morning's Haftarah, because we are now within the 3 weeks of Tisha B'Av, believe it or not. I know, right? No, both Rabbi Jan and I were like, we woke up the other day and realized, every year it seems like Tisha B'Av somehow sneaks up on us. But I think it's probably because we don't observe so much Shivas Rebbe Tammuz, which is the holiday that's, is 3 weeks exactly before Tisha B'Av begins. So if we did that, maybe it would be a good reminder for us. But in any case, we read this morning from Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 1 to chapter 2, verse 3, and we're on page 1113, page 1113 in the Cloud Chumash if you have it, and if not, you're following along at home, and again, you're looking for Jeremiah chapter 1, verses 1 to chapter 2, verse 3. And again, for those that are in my Heschel class, even though we've had a string of not being able to meet for the last few weeks, that we basically have covered the book of Jeremiah. So hopefully it adds even a greater layer of understanding of what's really going on here. But just a reminder again that Jeremiah is the prophet who basically lives through the last days of the kingdom of Judah before the destruction and through the destruction of Jerusalem. So his words are often quite heavy. And of course, it makes a lot of sense why we would be reading that in a lead up to Tisha B'Av, because in essence, that is what's taking place. So before we start reading, we'll of course do the blessings, which if you're following the prayer book are on page 372. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar binuyim tovim v'ratzav v'divreihem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai hamocher b'torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo v'mi'eh ha'emet v'hatzedek. The words of Jeremiah, son of Hilkiah, one of the priests of Anatot in the territory of Binyamin. The word of the Eternal came to him in the time of King Josiah, son of Ammon of Judah, in the 13th year of his rule, and during the rule of King Jehoiakim, son of Josiah of Judah, and until the end of the 11th year of the rule of King Zedekiah, son of Josiah of Judah, when in the 5th month Jerusalem went into exile. The word of the Eternal came to me, saying, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I have appointed you a prophet to the nations. And I said, O eternal God, I do not know how to speak, for I am only a youth. The Eternal One said to me, do not say, I am only a youth, for wherever I send you, you must go. And whatever I command you, you must speak. Have no fear of them, for I am with you to keep you safe, says the Eternal One. The Eternal then reached out and touched my mouth, and the Eternal said to me, behold, I have put my words in your mouth. See, I have appointed you this day to speak to nations and kingdoms, to uproot, to pull down, to destroy, to root out, but also to build and to plant. And the word of the Eternal came to me, saying, what do you see, Jeremiah? And I said, I see the branch of an almond tree. The Eternal then said to me, you see well. I am like an almond, dispensing my word to be fulfilled. The word of the Eternal came to me a second time. And what do you see? And I said, I see a boiling pot, whose face is tipped away from the north. And the Eternal One said to me, out of the north shall disaster break forth over all the people of the land. I am calling all the kings of the north, says the Eternal One. Each one will set up his throne facing the gates of Yerushalayim, and all its surrounding walls, and all the cities of Judah. I will deliver my verdict against them for all their evil deeds, for they have forsaken me, and have sacrificed to other gods and prostrated themselves before the work of their own hands. So you, gird your loins, get up and speak to them all that I have commanded. Do not lose your nerve because of them, or I will unnerve you before them. I am making you this day a fortified city, an iron pillar, and like bronze walls against the whole land, against the kings of Judah, against its leaders, priests, and people of the land. They shall attack you, but they shall not overcome you, for I am with you to keep you safe, says the Eternal One. The word of the Eternal came to me, saying, go cry out to the people of Yerushalayim, saying, thus says the Eternal One, I remember the devotion of your youth, your love as a bride, how you followed me in the wilderness in a land not sown. For Israel is holy to the Eternal, the first fruit of God's harvest. All who eat it shall bear their guilt. Ill shall befall them, says the Eternal. Yeah. We're back in our prayer books now, page 372. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol haolamim, tzadik bechol hadorot, ahel hane'eman haomer ve'oseh, hamdaber v'mekayem, shekol devarav emet v'tzedek, al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al nevi'im ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh, shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha v'lemenucha, lechavod u'tifaret. Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach u'mevarchim otach yibarach shimcha befi kol chai tamid le'olam va'ed baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen. Okay, we're going to turn to page 376 for Rise in Body or Spirit as we offer a prayer for our country, and then on page 377 a prayer for the state of Israel. Thus says Adonai, this is what I desire, to unlock the fetters of wickedness and untie the cords of lawlessness, to let the oppressed go free, to break off every yoke. Share your bread with the hungry and take the wretched poor into your home. When you see the naked, give clothing and do not ignore your own kin. If you banish the yoke from your midst, the menacing hand, the evil speech, if you offer compassion to the hungry and satisfy the famished preacher, then your light shall shine in darkness. O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and spirit. Amen. Page 377, a prayer for the state of Israel. Avinu shebashamayim, tzur Yisrael v'goalo, barech et medinat Yisrael, reishit tzmichat geulateinu. Again, aleha be'evrat chastecha, ufros aleha sukat shlomecha. Ushlach orchav amitcha l'rasheha sareha ve'yoatzeha. V'taknem be'etzah tova milfanecha, v'natata shalom ba'aretz. Amen. O Heavenly One, protector and redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love, spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen. We'll remain standing as we turn back to page 374 as we conclude the Torah service. Yeah, hallelujah, Shem Adonai, Kiniskav, Shem Holevado, Odo al Eretz Veshamayim, Vayarem Keren Liamo, Tehila Lechol Chasidav, Livnei Israel Am Kerovo, hallelujah, hallelujah. כי לכך טוב נתתי לכם תורתי, אל תעזובו. עץ חיים היא למחזיקים בה, ותומכיה מאושר. דרכיה דרכי נועם, וכל נתיבותיה Shalom, Hashivenu Adonai, Elecha ben Hashuva, Kadesh, Kadesh Yameinu, Kadesh Yameinu, Kekedem. Wouldn't that be humorous? Okay. Page 586. Page 586. Cantor, why don't you come back up? We'll remain standing in body or spirit. Aleinu l'shabeach, facing east, page 586 at the bottom. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula liotzer reshit, shelo asanu kegoye haratzot, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. I invite those in mourning or those observing yard sites to remain standing. Everyone else may be seated. We'll think first of those who have passed in recent months: Miles Ambrose, Morris Dickstein, Fred Eber, Sandra Furman, Evelyn Gelb, Lucy Gladstone, Lois Herr, Phyllis Katz, Gannett Kopp, Morty Lynn, Jerry Monroe, Madge Judith Parcher, Steve Popkin, Danielle Lisa Rigg, Geraldine Rosen, Harriet Roth, Paul Silver, Blanche Sklar, Rita Sandra Snyder, Joan Strong-Tenzilius, Virginia Tizer, and Ann Weiss. We also mark the yard sites that occurred during the last week for Donald Abrams, Sophie Bedziner, Jean Benjamin, Frank Burke, Francis Berkowitz, Gladys Schneider-Coleman, George Davis, Harold Edelman, Julius Freeman, Edwin Friedman, Francis Ginsberg, Irving Goldenson, Morris Kutstadt, Viola Grant, M.L. Hart, Sylvia Horowitz, Joseph Kamenkow, Samuel Katz, Ida Koplovich, Samuel Kutash, Anna Kiprios, Pauline Levy, Benjamin Levitman, Marion Mozart, Hiram Rossick, Lillian Henley Rubenstein, Stuart Sack, Susan Sackner, Lieb Scheinert, Max Schwartz, Irving Schatz, Doris Solomon, Henry Spitz, and Rose Zinger. Anyone else have a name of someone for whom you're saying Kaddish? And for anyone who is remembering loved ones at home, you're certainly welcome to mention their names at home. And as we join together on page 598. Yitkadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chaychon u'b'yomechon u'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala b'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah b'barach le'alam le'almei almai. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei kusha b'richu. Le'elam yitkol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalom Rabbah min Shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha. May every one of their memories be for a blessing. Ooh. Okay. Oy. Yeah. Please be seated. Please be seated. Good. Good Shabbos, everybody. Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos, Howard. So we're going to give some announcements. First is to welcome everybody at 12 o'clock on Zoom to our Women's Torah Commentary Torah study for this morning, facilitated and taught by our wonderful Fran Gottfried. Again, that is at 12 o'clock on Zoom. Also to mention, Nina Mitzvah will meet on Monday at 11:30. Contact Andrea Fagan if you're interested in joining. Social Justice Committee will meet at 5 o'clock on Monday as well. God willing, my classes will be back in session this week, Wednesday at 12 o'clock and Friday at 9 o'clock. Also, we hope the weather will be better next week so we can do our Shabbat by the Bay service at Havens Beach. Again, beginning with a pre-service schmooze, Tikkun Olam project, just enjoying the beauty of the area at 5 o'clock. Service will begin at 5:30. And then again, services here in the main sanctuary, Whalers Church, will start at 7:30 as well. And just a word, I know that last night the audio was definitely not good. I think I have the solution fixed. Yeah, no, that's okay. Well, both in the sanctuary is a different problem, but the streaming piece of it, I think I figured out a clever solution for the time. We'll see. But stick with us. It's a new place, so we're getting used to it. So again, that will begin at 7:30 p.m. here in the main sanctuary of Whalers Church. Just remember that we only can allow for those that have proof of vaccination plus their 2 weeks or a rapid test as of the day of services. So please, again, join us next week. Reminder of the tour of the Medu Conservancy with wine and cheese on July 11th, and also the Havdalah Harbor Sunset Cruise on July 24th. We still have to get to 20 people by the 8th in order to do it. So, Howard's looking a little unsure, but miracles happen every day. We never know. But if you're interested or other people might want to join us, please do. Again, let Eileen know in the office. Also, a reminder that at the end of the month, July 25th at 5 o'clock, at the wonderful little park just outside the Christ Episcopal Church on, I guess that's 114. What is that? Oh, Hampton Road. That's what it's called. I always forget what it's called. Hampton Road, 114. Just as the road is about to curve, there's a beautiful little park right there. And so we'll be out there for a variety show involving many of our temple members. We are still looking for talents. So if you have something to contribute talent-wise, please do let Shelly know. She's the one organizing it. And again, that'll be Sunday, July 25th at 5. Also, a reminder at the very end of the month, July 29th, Thursday, July 29th at 7 o'clock. We'll have a Zoom panel discussion on the topic of religion and science, prophecy and prediction with Dr. Stephen Rosen, myself, and moderated by Judy Spencer, or Klinghoffer, as you may know her better. And those are all the things on my list for now. Anything else, Marcia, Howard? No? We hope we'll see you next week. And we really thank you for being here. Again, 12 o'clock on Zoom. So Cantor, let's end with, let's do Ein Keloheinu, 626. Ein Keloheinu, Ein Adonenu, Ein Kemokeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, Mich Eloheinu, Mich Adonenu, Mich Kemokeinu, Mich Kemoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Elokeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu. It's funny. I have like a Pavlovian response to Ein Keloheinu. It always makes me hungry because it was a kid. It was the sign the Kiddush was coming, right? And I was like, for whatever reason, it still has that effect on me. It's really pretty funny. Anyway, probably more than you needed to know. But we'll turn to page 604 for Kiddush. Yeah, it just shows I paid attention in college. I learned about this thing. Et HaShabbat, Ma'asot et HaShabbat, Ledorot HaMerit Olam, Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam, oti le'olam, eshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם מרית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם מרית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. על כן ברך אדוני יום השבת ויקדשהו סברי. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. Okay. L'chaim, everyone. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Great to see you. Great to see you guys. Really wonderful. And Lauren, awesome to see you as well. We wish you a good Shabbos, 12 o'clock. Actually, if you can get on a few minutes early, even better. We'll get started. And we're very excited for Fran to teach us a little Torah this afternoon. Otherwise, please take care of yourselves. We'll see you for next Shabbat. And Zagazor. I'm using that correctly. Okay.